Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of my videos, and in this particular video we're going to be looking at our, game 18 of our middle game training, looking at the first American Chess Congress. We skipped a couple games, but those two games weren't particularly exciting. Game 16 will have the sort of checkmating combination. It was actually, I wish actually I did that one just to see how I could get the combination. But in any case, that was a pretty straightforward one. Game 17, again, very quick mating attack. That one finished 3 moves later. And we're now on game number 17, which is another Louis Paulsen game. I must say, Louis Paulsen, considering, he's obviously the second best player in this tournament after getting annihilated by Paul Morphy in the final. He was actually, you can kind of see he's quite a good positional player. He seems to always get very nice positions and, outplays his opponents in throughout the tournament. It's just a shame, obviously, he had to play someone like Paul Morphy in the final, but such is life. So, okay, this is the position here. We have let's have a look. We're white to play. I'm going to start the timer. I can actually see it on my, I've got a little clock down at the bottom that I can see here. So we're going to start the timer and go through all of my thoughts. Okay, so let me just find, I haven't got a pen. That would help. Okay, right, so here we go. Let's go through it. So, whites to play. So what did I write in my analysis here? So, on move 18, I had 2 moves that I played in this position. So move number 1, I'm actually trying to work out if it actually makes sense at all. I said here, well, on my 30-second analysis, I think I put knight to e5, which doesn't actually make any sense. So I wonder where, it's a knight going somewhere. But where exactly? I actually haven't got a clue. So it doesn't really make much sense, my 30-second analysis. But my 3-minute analysis makes a bit more sense. I just played rook a to d1. I thought it'd be nice to get my other rook centralized in this position. I thought this would be a relatively straightforward idea. Just to help defend the centre. I've got a fantastic centre here. I've got this lovely outpost knight here on d6. So we're controlling most of his position. Most of his pieces are being controlled by this knight. The problem I've got here is there is this potential f6 move, and that's going to undermine the outpost that my knight has here. And that's something I've got to think about. How do I solve this issue? Potentially, if that does happen, it'd be lovely to play a move like f4, but his own knight is actually quite well placed here too. In actual fact, his d knight is also just as good as my d knight, I would say. I think maybe my d knight's doing more action. I think it's doing much more in this position. Other things to consider in this position, well, material is equal. He does have a bishop versus my 2 knights, but his bishop's not doing a whole lot here. It's very passive. It's basically helping defend the b7 square. Hasn't got a huge map scope, but it could come out at some point if black is able to. Other things to think about in this position that is worth noting. This is an isolated pawn. But I think it's quite a good isolated pawn. I think it's almost acting as a battering ram. This king position is quite weak. Another thing as well that I should also have a look at. So it's quite a few problems for black in this position. I'm already apologies for my yawning. Let's see. I mean, really, to be honest with you, I think rook a to d1 just looks like a nice move. I'm just kind of thinking about where I go from there. I don't know if that really has much of a plan to it. It's my only thing. I'm just playing a good move. But I actually don't know where I go from there. As I say, this f6 thing is a bit annoying. You know, that's just going to undermine my entire position. I then need to think about what do I do with this knight. You know, do I move it back to maybe c4, help defend the pawn? You know, and black can't really do moves like this surely, because we move the knight somewhere else, and then this pawn's really weak. So you know, that can't be good at all for black. You know, that pawn suddenly becomes a weakness. I think, as I say, I mean, even f6, you know, if f6 is ever played, you know, it's just weakening. His king's going to get more and more exposed. You know, and already, you know, after I play a move like this, I'm threatening, you know, this potential discover check, although it doesn't really come with much venom, to be honest with you. But as I say, it's just something to consider. Another thing to think about, you know, can I capture this? Let's say rook captures. Can I play d4 now? Maybe it's not so good as actually. Maybe just f6, and this pawn is a bit stuck in there. I think black can probably round it up quite easily. Maybe f5, run back, take it that way. So that's pretty much most of the tactics in the position. I'm just trying to see what else I can maybe do. You know, I'd love to be able to support this pawn. Maybe ideas of g3, f4. The problem with all these pawn moves is this bishop is really strong on these light squares. Albeit, you know, my pawns actually in dark squares are pretty, you know, it's a good, not a bad thing. So I think that's, I'm sort of seeing ghosts there. Another thing I just thought about, bishop here could be annoying. That's just something I have to think about. You know, this bishop suddenly gets a tempo. Can I just kick it away with maybe a move like f3? Let's see, but you know, here, bishop here, f3. Where does this bishop go? I'm not sure. Maybe it just comes back. I honestly don't know. Maybe it just comes back, and then that's it. Other things to maybe consider in this position. Is there little tactics on c1? Capture the rook, take back. This comes with a check. And forking this. I mean, maybe just bishop here, and that sort of stops that problem, doesn't it? I don't know. I think I really like this rook a to d1. I think this move makes the most sense in this position. You know, I can then think about maybe this expansion on the queen side. You know, I do need to work with, you know, this 4-3 pawn majority. I quite like that simple plan, getting these pawns rolling forward. Maybe start getting my king in the position and start moving these guys up. Once I've got my rook centralized, I'll be honest with you, I mean, black can't do a whole lot here. I think he's got a nice knight, that's true. But you know, this guy, they're not doing anything, they're very passive. They're having to guard those pawns. We don't have to, I mean, other pieces guard them, but you know, it's not a particularly pleasant looking position that they have to play here. A particularly pleasant role. Right, well, what else could I do? Another idea is maybe rook to e2. Just something to think about. Is this a problem? It's a bit of an annoying move. Comes back. Don't know. Let's maybe double up the rooks with a simple plan like that. Maybe I play a move like h3 and just keep this bishop as passive as possible. You know, it's not. I mean, actually, you know, I'm looking at this, and this bishop to e6 idea is not a terrible plan. You're giving up. Okay, well, the problem is you give yourself this horrible pawn, don't you? But at the same time, you know, you've got this open file. You can go down. At least gives some active employment to this bishop, even if it is just temporary. Okay, so we've got a minute left in this position. think I'm just going to make a decision on rook a to d1. I'm just doing some last checks. You know, is this a problem? Forking me? Probably not. Go back here. Yeah, I think I'm doing absolutely fine there. So, okay, I'm going to seal in this move as my move. Let's actually look at the actual game. So, oops, let me make this board a little bit smaller so you guys can see what was actually played. Here we go. Right, so in the actual game. Okay, so rook to b8 was played, and here rook came to b1. Interesting. So this was the move that was played. Let's have a look at my move and see if this is much better. So rook a to d. Let's see, it's analysing. I've got it on like 26th depth, so that's probably why it's taking a little bit of time to work out if it likes that move or not. Any minute now. Any minute now. It's on 19 depth. I mean, you can see the evaluation bar. It seems to be fine. I can't see that as a poor move. Let me turn the depth down slightly on this because it's probably a bit high. I think I've been depth 20, isn't it? It's normally enough, to be honest with you. So yeah, so b1 it really liked. Rook a to d1, which is what I played. It seems to think that's an okay move too. In actual fact, it's probably actually a bit better than what was actually played in this game. So g3 it liked the most. So that was another idea that we did consider as well. Let's turn these on here. Yeah, so it really likes rook a to c1. Oh, it's moving around a little bit. Rook a to d1. This is the move it liked the most. So we got the move. Well, we kind of got the move. It's rook a to c1 and rook a to d1 keep sort of flipping and flopping. So both moves it seems to like. a3 it liked as well. I guess this sort of just continues the restriction of this knight. Let's have a look at this line just so I can kind of see what the plan is. This is the idea I was telling you about. I actually don't think this is a bad move. b4. Is it just looking at going for a minority attack potentially? Well, let's have a look. Rook a, knight to c7. This guards this here. That is an exchange, and it likes what we do. What's the f takes line? f3. And well, you know, I don't think this is a bad position at all. Wow, as it knight to b5. Oh, so knight to b5. That's why here. Just giving yourself poor structure all over the place. But this isn't a bad rook endgame, to be honest with you. And it just says 0-0. It's, well, I mean, it's going to be a tough endgame to draw. You know, you've got 2 pawn weaknesses to go after. You've got double pawns here and an isolated pawn, but you know, the computers can hold this. Yeah, you know, it must be okay. But I wouldn't want to play the same game, if I'm honest with you. So let's have a look what actually happened in the game. So rook to b1. Well, we'll have a look at this first and just see what the next best move. So this f6 idea, which is what I was looking at, was played. Well, is what the computer would play, I should say. Knight to c4, which is what we looked at. F takes. I'm very surprised at that move. F takes because rook takes. The king was in check. King comes to f7. I mean, this can't be good for black. We've got centralized rooks. Really powerful position. I am not sure I like black's position at all here. I think this is a really dominant position that he's got here now. So, okay, going back. So let's actually have a look at the actual game. So rook a to b1 was played. Bishop to d7. b4. f6 was played to try and undermine this this sort of structure which I was talking about. So this knight came back to c4. b5. Ooh, not a great move. I mean, we talked about this. The problem with this move, it just quite simply it weakens this pawn now. But it looks as though, well, actually this pawn's still defended, so that's okay. So knight came to a5, now hitting this pawn. Rook defended, a bit of an awkward way to defend that. I really don't like the way he's defended this pawn. Because now this rook is just trapped forever. E6, that's a nice move. So just now getting on. This bishop looks horrible. This rook is now out of the game. so you know, within what, about 5 moves, black has just totally lost the plot here in this game. King to d6, rook b to c1. Knight came back. The rook came to d1. King to c7. Got superfluous knights. But now this knight jumped in here. It doesn't like that move all that much. But he won a rook out of it, so I can't see the harm in that. Ooh, this is a nice skewer. So the king comes there to stop that. So black plays on here. Seems to do okay. That's just a poor move. Just let them have a free pawn, why not? And well, black resigns in this game. Yeah, well, not the best quality, I would say. It's typical of the first American Chess Congress, but certainly an interesting continuation. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.